ACCUCARE Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine in Brick, New Jersey offers a state-of-the-art facility with all the best and current treatments. With athletic trainers, massage therapists, and doctors of physical therapy, ACCUCARE has everything you need to stay healthy and perform at the highest level. Cupping, stretching, laser therapy, compression boots, and a full-body cryo chamber are just some of what you can expect at ACCUCARE. Check out their website and social media links in my bio. No prescription is needed to see them. So call them today and start feeling and performing at your best. Again, thank you to ACCUCARE for sponsoring the Shore Football Report. Everybody, it's the Shore Football Report, and we have the 2023 high school football release show, and we have the coaches roundtable, and I have some 5 very good friends of mine, head coaches in the Shore Conference that come with unique backgrounds that I'm proud to have on the show. So first of all, overall, guys, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us, Coach.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, Rob.
We got a lot to talk about. Let me introduce you, and then I want to talk about my sponsor real quick, and we'll get right into the reason why you guys are here. To the left-hand corner, we have Manalapan's head football coach, Dominic Lepore, 13 seasons as a head football coach overall. He just finished his 4th season at Manalapan. I love the fact, Dom, that you are a head coach at 2 different places, Farrell Township for 10 years, and of course, Manalapan. So you bring a wealth of experience, plus what you do outside the season with all-star games, and we're going to pick your brain a lot here. Thanks for coming on the show.
You got it.
Right
Thank
in the
you.
middle, we have first-year head football coach at Pinelands, John Tierney. John, I love the fact that you were a longtime assistant coach at Pinelands, left and ventured out with Rainey basketball and also at Lou Versillo at Lacey, gained a lot of different ideas, and came back to your school and had a fantastic season. So I want to hear all that good stuff that you brought to the table there. So thanks for coming. To the right, Jason Glezman from Keyport, head football coach, and just finished his 4th year. We had a relationship way back when you were a college football coach, and
Long time ago.
I love the fact that you're now a high school coach in the Shore. Just makes our coaching fraternity that much stronger. But you have a wealth of experience from the college that I want you to start telling us from that end what we're looking into in the future with football. Coach, thanks for coming on. To the left, we have another first-year head football coach from Manchester, Tommy Farrell. Tommy, you are one of the youngest coaches in the state of New Jersey. I think you are the youngest one in the Shore Conference. And the thing I like about you is that I always said that I can't believe how young you are, because you present yourself with a wealth of knowledge and your respect for the Shore Conference. I love that. You always
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that.
Respect in the Shore Conference, and that comes. You had your father who was a head football coach in the Shore, but you respect where you are right there, and I think you have a bright future at Manchester. I really do, and I want to hear some great things. And you're great at social media, and I want to hear some of the stuff. And right in the middle is Brick Township's Lenny Zdanowicz, William Patterson's legendary Lenny Zdanowicz. Lenny, I love the fact that, first of all, 7th year as a head coach at Brick, your alma mater, you coaching at a historical, winning traditional program with Warren Wolf that you respect, and you keep those values intact at Brick Township, and I love that you do that, and you protect the green and white like nobody does, and I really respect that. Like you're definitely a Brick Dragon, and I know you. I can't ever see you anywhere else, And I love the fact that you're on here representing Brick Township and talking about, the Dragon tradition. So, guys, thanks for coming on the show. But before we go on, I want to talk about the Shore Football Report was undefeated this year. Nobody beat us. Nobody. We were undefeated, Scott Stump and myself, but we couldn't have done it without our sponsor, ACCUCARE. ACCUCARE, located in Brick Township. The outstanding owner and founder, Pam Anthony, and her outstanding staff, working on athletes 24/7. And John Tierney, you being a multi-sport coach, you know it's important to train all year round, and to have ACCUCARE there in Brick, which is centrally located in the Shore. How important is it for you and your athletes to know that there's a place there?
My guys loved it this year. They, obviously you set them up with some free care there when they won players a week, and they just absolutely loved it. They raved about it. I'm getting a little bit older, and my back's bothering me a little bit. I think I may have to take a couple trips over there.
Yeah, it's awesome. What they did, they provided free recovery sessions to the overall winners every week in the Shore Conference, and it was great. I love the fact that not only they trained in them physically, mentally, the environment there is really great. They're always wondering what else they can do for the student athletes, and not just for football, for all the sports. Now, Dom, how far away are you from ACCUCARE and Brick, roughly? Would it be 30 minutes?
From Manalapan, about 30 minutes, yeah.
That's not that bad. That's really
not
that
bad.
bad.
About a half hour.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tom, you're kind of right around the corner from it, right, Coach Farrell?
Yeah, right down Route 70, absolutely.
And of course, Lenny, that's right around the corner from him right there. But having a sponsor like that for all the athletes, they were tremendous, and I owe them a lot, and I'm very proud to be associated with them. So thank you, and you'll have ACCUCARE representation on this show as you watch the whole thing going on here.
She's upstairs.
All right, guys, I got 4 topics we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about off-season in everybody's program. I love hearing people's programs and when you do your banquets, how's college recruiting doing, and what kind of weight program do you do? Do you do it in the morning? Do you do it after school? Is it a 3 or 4 day workout? I love hearing everybody else's programs. I want to do that. I want to talk about the 2023 divisions that just came out. What do you think? The good, bad, the ugly. And then I want to talk about the new transfer rule, which I just got off the phone today, hearing it's coming. Like Deion Sanders would say, it's coming, definitely. And then reclassifying. Is it good or bad to hold your kid back in 8th grade for the betterment of a brighter future in 4 or 5 years? And we're going to pick each other's brains with that. So let's start off with off seasons in your program. And I want to start with Dominic Lepore. Tell us a little bit, I love hearing when you do your banquets, because at that point you kind of say, now let's get ready for the 2023 season. When is your banquet? What about college recruiting? How's it going throughout the whole time? And what's doing weight room? And we'll just talk around.
All right. So what we do, Rob, is we always give our guys the month of December off. So, hopefully we extend that season, goes into the playoffs, a chance to play for a state championship, of course, and then give them that month of December off, get into the holidays. And then our banquet was just this past Thursday. So our banquet is usually like the second week of January. But we'll start in the weight room as soon as we come back from the holidays, from Christmas and New Year's. So that first Tuesday, this year was on a Tuesday. We came back, we start right in the weight room 3 days a week, and we go after school. I just find that, with our guys, we'll go after school. We get out at 2:00, and we're in the weight room by 2:15, 2:20, ready to go.
Yeah. And the recruiting, you just take it as it goes, right?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I went out, during the holiday break, I was out with Coach George, South Brunswick, and my relationship with Coach George. We were talking about how, with the transfer portal and all, the college recruiting has just it's amazing. We used to go from like the month of December, like 30 to 35 guys through the building. We'll probably cut that in half, to like maybe 12 to 15 guys coming through the building. And I just even from the Division I guys all the way down to the Division III guys, they were all on the portal. And they're taking kids, and kids are transferring from all over the places. So it's affected us at the high school level, So, it's gotten real bad, I think, with that.
It's a terrible time. And Jay, we'll get right to you in a second. Talk about the college recruiting from your end and also when you were a college coach? Because I'm getting college coaches asking me, who do you got in the short conference for 2024s? We're not even looking at 2023s now. We're going through the portal. And that's scary because a lot of guys are getting buried in 2023s. So what's your take on the portal and all that with recruiting?
You know, we came out of the pandemic and we emerged into like this new world, you know, where you have this logjam of a lot of things just that happened all at once, whether it's the kids that are guaranteed that extra year of eligibility because they lost a year. They open up the transfer portal. So now kids are being able to transfer without penalty. Put on top of that NIL deals where kids are now, not only are they pursuing where can I go to college, where can I get an education, where can I play football, where can I make money? And that's a great opportunity for a lot of kids, a lot of young men that have that opportunity. But the college recruiting has been more competitive now than it's ever been. And I think the best way you can look at it is if you look at Division III, because Division III, you know, listen, you got to be able to play if you're going to play college ball. But Division III, there was always these opportunities that were available. And for me, you know, I love trying to get my guys that are college football ready into those state schools we have here in New Jersey. Affordable, all right, you get to play high-level football, you get to be competitive. You know, within the last 2-3 years, some of those schools have said, I don't have any roster spots available, coach. We're going to bring in maybe 12 to 15 kids, and that's it. We're very tight in terms of what is available. Mm-hmm. So just looking at how it's impacted Division III, where the majority of the short conference football players would be playing, you see the lack of opportunities that are there or the reduction in opportunities that are there. It has trickled down, and I wouldn't want to be a college coach right now, you know, because you have to not only recruit on the road, you have to keep your eyes open for what's available, you know, who's leaving. And then you got to, you know, I had a coach, a high-level coach coming in to see one of our guys. He almost had to reschedule because he had to go back to the school because one of his best players wanted to transfer. And he had to, like, you know, protect that and make sure that didn't happen. It's an incredibly competitive world. And the most important thing right now for any kid that wants to play college football, you got to have your academics in order. Because schools used to be able to work with kids. They would be able to, you know, all right, well, we can meet you here. If you don't have your academics in order right now, colleges right now, like that's the first, like that's it. They're done. They can't even look at a kid anymore because the opportunities are just not as available. So it's very competitive. It's very, very competitive.
Now, Len, I want to talk about your strength as a weight room. You are one of the best, and you always were, even when we were at William Patterson. But where were those NIL deals when we were at William Patterson? Brother Bruno's. Come on, man, right?
Jimmy G's down the street, man. I'd go down there for my wings. That's all it would have took me, man. Is wings on Monday Night Football. $10 all you can eat back then, man.
Right. Jeez. Len, talk about your weight program when you do, because I know it's a high priority for you and your program. Like, when do you really go after it?
Well, normally, like Dom said, I kind of sometimes would have the kids in there like December, you know, a little bit just messing around a little. But this year, you know, we finished before November 1st, so it was strange to finish that early. So we started up like December 1st. I mean, I had no other way to I'm like I can't wait this long. So I went back in there. The kids still wind up having a month off, but we started up November 1st. I mean, December 1st. Sorry, and you know, we do like a 4-day program. I try to work it right around. I work it the whole system with the way I have my phases planned out. It's kind of worked all around the seasons, and I kind of work it in a 4-day program because you know majority of kids need to take a bus home. You know, when you're in the off season. Yeah. So my bus, you know, we get out at 1:30, and then the buses come at like 3:50. So by the time the kids get in there and get going, you know, I found that the 4-day program works great for us. You know, the way we work it, we have, you know, like an upper body push-pull day, and then we'll go lower body with explosive. We'll do an explosive lift every day, and then we'll do a lower body heavy, like a squat day on one day with cleans. Then we'll go back to our other upper body day, which is kind of like changes a little bit with one day is more, you know, we do kind of like incline press and dumbbells, and then we'll do bench press with incline dumbbells, and then we'll do an explosive lift with that, all push-pull stuff like mostly everybody's doing. And then we'll do like our Friday, and then then we do our deadlift day, and then we'll do that with cleans again. And And then our Friday, we have fun. We have our big arm finisher on a Friday, with the kids do this arm circuit. That's, we have fun with it. So we like to do stuff like that. And, for us right now, like it's always been like the heartbeat of how we do everything ever since, years ago in the 70s, Coach Bill Brunner was at Brick and he started our program in the basement of his house. Yeah. And, then, when I was here, Coach Donovan Brown took it over. And then I took it over from him. And then it's kind of almost been like the same kind of staple we've always had. But I tell you, it's like everybody said, since COVID, it's been a little different. Kids are a little bit, because during COVID, we, with all the issues of having to shut down this, having to shut down that, when the gym started opening up, it was like, dude, get a membership, go there. And, I kind of like had to roll with it. And we got an app with the workout. So the kids would have it on their app. It would be all, modified to their maxes and all percentage based. And it was just easy. They would just click on what they did and I would see what they're doing. It was all like, it was easy because of the issues that we had with that. But, now with all this stuff, we're trying to get the kids, back into the groove. And, it's just sometimes it's a little, it's not as good as I would love it to be right now, but, it's a work in progress. And, some of the kids are a little, they think they're a little better than they are. So you got to bring them back down to earth. And, you show them what other kids are doing and you're like, and all of a sudden they're like, whoa, maybe I'm not that good and stuff. And, you got to just show them what it's all about. And, we have a sign that, we have a couple signs in the weight room that I love. And, the one that we have in there, that's probably the best one we got. It says, there's no excuse. What does it say? Jim, there's no substitute for strength and no excuse for the lack of it. So I just tell the kids every day. I was like, listen, you're weak. That's your choice. If you want to be strong, you can be strong. And for us this year, we had 2 kids join a team that never played before, all in high school. And they were probably two strongest kids in our building. They were strong kids and they came out and they both started every game, on one side of the ball for each one of them. And they were dominant players for us. And it was like, guys, these guys didn't play one down in football in high school until this year. And the only thing they are is strong. They're strong, which made them good athletes, made them all – they didn't miss a game because of, they're power lifters. So basically they never got hurt. They were like indestructible kids. And, they anchored the team for us this year. And you got to, you try to show kids, listen, no matter what you're doing, if you just get strong, everything, takes care of itself.
Nice. Now, John Tierney. John, you've been at Pinelands. You went to other places, including Rainey. And now you're back. I want to know, and you had a really good season this year, probably the most wins in 20-something years. That special banquet that you're going to have, what are you doing? Are you doing anything different that Pinelands has never done before with a banquet, that with the ideas you're bringing from other places?
So I don't know if we're doing anything different. We're going to do it Super Bowl Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do it like a brunch style thing. To me, it's like going to be fun because Super Bowl is all obviously just a football day. So you wake up early, you go have the banquet.
Right.
You reward the seniors. You say goodbye to the seniors from 11 to 2. You eat. Then you're going to come home. You're going to eat a little more. And I'm going to stop and get some wings and eat some more. So it's a great day of football and food. So, everybody seems to be looking forward to it, and it'll be a great way to cap off the 2022 season.
Oh, you're going to have a lot of fun at that banquet. A lot of things you accomplished this year that haven't been done in a while. And Coach Farrell, end this right here with, you're so good with your social media. How do you use your social media to motivate your athletes in the off season so well? What you do, it's like you tweet something out and you got all those players retweeting all that. I can't even get 3 likes on my thing. Ridiculous. You're doing something right.
I tell my kids it's a blessing and a curse. Use your social media to promote yourself. Let me take care of promoting the program, because I think that promoting the program is everything, is what we all need. You want to build excitement around the program, and I tell my kids to be smart on it. I'm there following on Instagram and Twitter. I'm the only coach who runs the Instagram and Twitter accounts. But you can put whatever you want on social media. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you don't do the work in the off season or if you don't, matriculate to wins and losses during the season. So social media can be cool. It could be a beneficial tool, but it could also be a curse in the same way. We don't rely on it. I just use it as a professional tool to just build excitement around the program. But at the end of the day, if they're not lifting, getting after it 5 days a week in the weight room with me, or, if they're not getting after it after practice, or more importantly in the classroom, then, that social media stuff doesn't really matter. So I tell them to let me take care of it, and I'll help guide them through what they should have in their Twitter bio, what's good for their highlight film, so on and so forth. So I know I take it as a compliment that that you compliment me on social media, but at the end of the day, I don't want to be judged on my social media game with the program. I want to be judged on wins and losses and building men for the next 40, 50 years. So.
No, I'm all about motivating. And now that I'm not coaching, I love picking all your brains on all different stuff like off season. So many ways to do it. It's working. It really is working. There's many ways to skin a cat, but I think the off season is where you create your, the momentum into the next season. All right, now let's talk. 2023 divisions came out, and it seems to be a problem because we keep changing every year. Lenny, we talked about this many times on the phone. Why aren't we keeping our 2 years agreement like we've done when you were a player in the beginning years of your coaching? And me being a president, I don't have the answer for it, but the bylaws, state that it should be a 2-year cycle. Correct, Lenny?
Yes, yeah, I read through it. When they first went through everything, and it just said, I understand it's for the betterment of competition, so they say and everything, but you can't. I know where I am down here in Brick, and if you talk to a Brick Memorial, Jackson, you talk to the Toms River guys in Southern, we'd give anything to have the A South back. I mean, as dominant as North was this year, we'd all love to have it because, honestly, we had nothing wrong. There was a rotation. One team would win it. Next year, the other team would win it. And it just kept rotating through all different teams taking a shot at it. And, we had a good thing going. And, I guess I understand why they do it throughout the whole shore and how it's supposed to benefit all of us. The only thing I could say is the first couple of years with the new system, the only thing I thought that was positive for our team was that, we had a nice rivalry going with Freehold Borough for a couple of years where we'd meet them twice a year, and we had some great games with them. And other than that, I could do without it because, like I said, about the rivalry, I remember the day that our whole schedule changed and we weren't playing East South, and we're in the weight room, and I saw it pop out. I'm on my phone, and my head's down. I'm like, oh, my God, my kids are going to be crushed. And because, they grew up with AYF. I mean, now AYF is different. You can go play wherever you want. Doesn't matter it just matters who your daddy knows and all that kind of stuff. But, the way it used to be where kids would just play kids from their own hometowns. I mean, our kids were crushed because it was like, we're not playing North. We're not playing East. We're not playing. Kids were like, we're not playing these teams. Like, what's going on? And honestly, it was like we had a great group of that year of sophomores that were going to be juniors and seniors. And it was like, they were like, oh, they took some lumps. And they're like, oh, well, here's our turn. And all of a sudden everything changes. So it was kind of, I understand the way the kids are upset about it. I'm upset about it. I used to love the rivalries of everything. But this year, I mean, the way everything is, the only thing consistent for us is that we're playing Brick Memorial every year. Everything else is just, I don't even care to even look at it anymore and wonder what's going on and how it all works because there's no sense even worrying about it because people are going to do whatever they want to do.
Len, before we go on more, the last couple of years, they had different formulas. Transparency has been a word, Don, that we've always talked about, like we wanted them to be. So they did it. The way they put the divisions, they took everybody's SI the last 2 years and the average of it, and they just went from top to bottom and created divisions. These six. My issue with that was if you look at the Constitution division, and Coach Glez, you got two Group 1 schools playing with St. John Vianney and Ocean. You have Asbury Park and Shore that kind of ballooned up there. I just think that there's some varsity teams are going to be hurt a little bit playing those guys. You can't compare SIs with Group 5s and Group 1. It's just not meant to be. It's meant to be for smaller groups of 19, 20, like they do for the group, the sectional groups. But when you mix Group 1s and Group 5s, it's not a exact science to do. Coach Glez, what do you think of Group 1s playing Group 4s and Group 5s?
Can I throw out just the cliche stuff? All right, we'll play anybody who we got in our schedule. All right, we're in. We'll game. Is everyone going to be satisfied? No one's ever going to be satisfied. Can't satisfy everybody. But for the last 5 years, they've been doing this. They've talked about trying to generate consistency. They're trying to generate fairness. And what I'm seeing is for 5 years, they're thinking of a solution, but they don't think of the consequences of those solutions. So, the first year they did it, when they changed all these divisions up, Homedale their previous 3 years were down. Donovan Catholic and Homedale come down to our division, the Group 1 division, and they just run the show, right? No Group 1 school had a chance that year. And, they keep going through these formulas. So this year it's SI. All right, we're going to use SI. That doesn't benefit Asbury Park, who has 40 kids on their team. That doesn't benefit Shore, who has 57 kids on their team, in a division where all the other teams average 73 kids. How is that going to benefit them, playing a schedule like that? And then, just the inconsistencies of, let's find a solution. Let's try to be consistent. But from a Group 1 perspective, and I feel like I'm on here, I want to be a voice for the Group 1 schools. Mm-hmm. There's never a solution for the Group 1 schools. And Coach Farrell, you're doing a great job. I'm really excited to play you this year. We got some mutual friends. But for us in Group 1, let's send the Group 3 schools down. Let's, because of their SI or because of their record the last 3 years. But, for us, you take a look, the last 5 years, right? The last 5 years. And here's the cliche. We'll play anybody. But the last 5 years between Beach, Keyport, and Keensburg, we have a 32% win percentage when we play up. And it's not because we don't have talent. It's not because we don't have the ability. But Group 1 football is significantly different from what a lot of other schools have to deal with. You guys were talking about offseason before. We're bringing back 35 kids at Keyport, and 20 of them are playing or playing basketball or wrestling, right? And those same 20 are probably going to be running track and doing baseball, right? Group 1 school. So, I understand what the Shore wants to do. They want to be consistent. They want to be fair, right? But that's never going to happen. And when they make these solutions, I feel like they're not thinking of the consequences that comes with these solutions. Shore and Asbury are going to be game. They're going to go out and play. Coach Kaz, I know, is going to get those guys fired up. Asbury is a team that it doesn't matter who they got. Every year they're going to compete. But for Asbury, that has a team of 40 kids and just graduated 10 to 12 seniors. That didn't have a freshman team, that didn't have a JV team. Where's their development coming from? Where are they going to grow as a program? Right. Playing schools that average 73 kids on their varsity team. So it's frustrating from a Group 1 level. And I'm trying to speak not just woe is me, Keyport this, Keyport that. On a Group 1 level, it's been very frustrating because there's solution this, solution that. You treat parochial schools, you try and treat them differently. Well, Group 1, I think, should be treated a little bit differently too when we consider these divisions, because SI is not the answer for us. It's not going to be the answer for Group 1. And looking at the record the last 3 years is not going to be the answer for Group 1. Group 1 needs, competitive football. We need like teams. That's what we need. And last year, when you had all Group 1 teams in the division, Shore, Asbury, Keensburg, Point Beach, and us, you had Shore went 4-1 in the division, Keyport went 4-1 in the division, and Asbury Park went 3-1 in the division.
Yeah, try.
But no, let's break that up. Let's break that up. That's just, you had the answer right there. Go back to the original. What was it, B South? I mean, leave us. Leave us alone. Be sensitive. Leave us alone. Look at how competitive the division was last year in the games that we played. It's frustrating.
The Group 1s are an issue. Let's go to Group 5 with Dominic. Now, Dom, I know you're Group 4, but I think you were a Group 5 too in the past. So let's hear from your end what you think about how everything's been changing since 2019.
Yeah, so this was the first year we dropped down to Group 4. We've been traditionally Group 5 for forever, for a long time, since they created that fifth group. But I was on that football committee of head coaches that went to Shore Regional to sit down with the athletic directors that are part of that football committee, and they apologized once again for not being transparent and those divisions coming out, at the end of the season. They apologized for that. They said it wouldn't happen again. They handed us this paper, this form that had all the SI numbers on it. And, they're just saying that this is what the state, they're just following the state. This is what the state is going to. This is the way the playoff system is going to be based off strength index. So, that's the format that they're going to follow. And, so they took these last 2 years, they came up with that average, and they said after this year, they'll have a 3-year average, and this is going to kind of play out a little bit more clear. So, I'm a traditionalist. I didn't play in the Shore Conference, but I've been down here since the mid-'90s, and I've coached down here, been a head coach down here. So I've been down here for a long time now. And just like Lenny said, and all the guys that are on this panel and the friends that I've made over the course of the years, I've sent those emails. I've been vocal about, playing to your group size, playing in, A North, A South, B North, B South, and, and divisions like that I think, again, bring those rivalries, the competitiveness. And, to me, I played in that top division this year. To be honest, they wanted to call it the SEC of the Shore Conference. I'll tell you what, we played some great football games, but it takes a toll on you. And again, we're one of those schools that have good numbers. We're anywhere from 75 to 80 kids on our varsity, but along with Rumson and Middletown South, but it took a toll on us. We weren't the same team at the end that we were in the beginning of the season.
Quick question though, Dom. Quick question with you. I know you played. I mean, that without saying what teams you played, but
yeah,
were you banged up going into the playoffs with the type of teams that you were playing?
Yeah, I mean, some of our best players were banged up, throughout the year, playing in those type of games. I mean, 14-10, 14-7, 17-14, great football games, but, it takes a toll on your body. We played 9 straight, so we didn't have a bye.
What's your solution with the multiplier? Lenny, do you have a solution, or John or Farrell? Like, I know now there's a double multiplier, but no thanks. It's like shutting you up. You're getting 2 multipliers, but you're going to get the crap beat out of you. Against those teams. I don't know what the answer is.
Well, again, John, you gonna say something, John?
No, you have to, weigh your risk versus reward. Like for me, I'm a group 3 playing, 3 group 4s next year, group 3, a 2 and a 1. If we're decent and we're good, I don't think I need the multiplier.
Right.
But if I'm a team that's playing, if I'm a group 5 school playing a couple group 2s or 3s, then I need the multiplier. What is the state of your program? What is our overall goal right now for our program? Is our program to try and, win football games? Is our goal to try and, just play the best competition and hopefully get to the States? And maybe we're healthy, maybe we're not. Like Dom just said, his guys were all banged up. Now you go into a state game where in years past, maybe you could have won it, but now you're so banged up from playing those guys that you're not going to. You can also say, well, I'm getting the experience of playing against those schools, so now it's only going to help in the States if I'm healthy enough. So I think it's all a matter of what your program goals are and where you are in your program. Lenny, I think you said before, like, I had an all sophomore team. We're coming back. We're going to be juniors and seniors, but we played a different schedule. Do I have a senior laden team and now I'm bringing back in all sophomores and juniors? And I have to start rebuilding again. I think it all depends on what the multiplier and the double multiplier is like. Where are you? And right now, like, am I ready to go play in RBC? Am I ready to go play at Diamond Catholic? No. Dom, you were sort of forced into your schedule last year, but being the group you are now, like, do you want to go play that multiplier? I think it's where you are in the state of your program.
Coach Farrell, now you dropped to play group 1s predominantly with that. So what's your take on that now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I have the answers or, that I think we should do this or that. I'm going into my second year as a head coach, and that's not an excuse. I'm all for competitive balance. I don't know if we should do it every year, every 2 years, or every 3 years. I'm all for rivalries. I'm all for local rivalries. I know when I played at Donovan with Coach Duddy, we were in the old school B South with Jackson Liberty and you, Coach Davis, at Barnegat and Pinelands and all those schools. I'm just happy to have 9 starters coming back and just have a competition-based schedule where, Manchester hasn't been. You call a spade. Manchester's made the playoffs twice since 1976. One division title during a COVID year. So I'm not going to sit here and say I have the answers for this. I'll just, like Coach Glez said, we'll play who we play. I don't really have anything to do with the schedule, and I'm not kind of hiding behind that by any means. But the schedule is the schedule. We'll play who we play, and I'm just happy that Manchester has a shot to just compete and just to go play football. And as a young guy, just to live the dream of being a head coach in the short conference. I hate to take the easy answer, but there's no right or wrong answer. I think we can sit here all day and talk about it. But being one of the I think we're the second smallest Group 3 in the state of New Jersey, with around 700 kids in our school. We can be considered a Group 2 or a Group 3. But we can play either Group 1s or Group 2s or 3s, 4s, 5s. I mean, you name it, we'll play anybody who comes across us. So I'm just happy we got a lot of guys coming back, and I'm just excited to start the 2023 season.
Well, Scott Stump and myself later in this show will be breaking down all 7 divisions, who they got returning and what to expect, and our way too early top 10.
Now, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but we sort of went to this whole change every year because of the modern day, right? Because when modern day all of a sudden went from being my modern day, Coach Glezman's modern day, to modern day prep. That's where all this sort of came from, correct?
Yes and no.
No, this started as soon. I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think this just started when, when this first started with this schedule, they weren't anything. Then all of a sudden, I think wouldn't this start 2000? I would say
no. It happened with Matter Day because Matter Day played us in our division.
15
because we had to deal with Middlesex
16.
We had to deal with Middlesex where we were sending teams up, and we were playing Group 1s or playing Middlesex Group 1s, and then Mater Day went and beat everybody by 100 points. So we're not doing this anymore, and that's what ruined our relationship with Middlesex County.
Right.
You can't.
What was it? 2017 they started it.
Yeah, 18.
17, right?
Yeah.
Homedale won our division in 18.
I think I think
it was
football program was 14 when they started doing what they were doing. 14 or 15.
And now look at Matter Day. Where are they? They started this mess, is what you're saying, and now they're not even here.
The money ran out.
Ridiculous. You brought it up, John.
I did. That's what I'm saying is that was the root of this problem was Mater Day. And listen, I went there. Yeah. I taught there. I coached there for a year. But because of what happened, where all of a sudden they went from this what we were, 21, 22, 23 guys on the football team to 50 guys on the football team and 10 to 15 Division I recruits.
Yeah, it's not a matter of how many guys he got, is what kind of guys they got. Right? Matter Day didn't beat us with schemes. He didn't beat us with high numbers. He beat us with the 6'5", 285-pound kid that they had there. That's that. But yeah, they probably.
That's what I'm saying. Is we had to deal with Middlesex, and then all of a sudden that went away because the problem is we only have 5 Group 1 schools. That's our biggest problem. And each division needs 6. Correct?
No, you need 5.
And Lakewood fits in well. Lakewood, LJ's got a lot of stuff going on there. That's why last year our division was great. It was super competitive. There was a nice balance. You had your good teams, but even the teams at the bottom, it was a very good balance. So, but Coach, to your point, it seems like a lot of this started because we lost those crossovers, because then that's when Homedale and Donovan Catholic came down and we had this constant shifting of the divisions. But then they start moving parochial schools, so then the Group 3s and the Group 4s get upset because they're playing 2 or 3, and I don't blame them, the way that the parochials, are able to accumulate talent. I look at the short conference this way. We want to treat parochials different and we want to treat Group 1s different, but we try to find just a one fit answer. And for 5 years, in my opinion, it hasn't worked.
No, at all. It's hard to get 42 right schedules for all the teams. It really is. So, but
that was my argument when I went into the meeting, back in December. I said, well, you make the divisions up by group size and then take the Catholics out of it. put them in their own division, because you know what? They're going to go out and they're going to find games anyway.
They
and
want
if you're
that.
Manalapan, they want that. So, but again, if you're a Manalapan, if you're a Manalapan or you're a Middletown South, and you feel good about the kids that you come back and you want that multiplier, then go play them. There'll be years that I want to go play RBC or Donovan Catholic, but I don't want to have to be forced to play them every year. Like I said about this new division that we're in now, I love it. I love it because we're playing 8 teams that have kids on their roster with the same zip code as the school. So you know what? We're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. You know what I'm saying? We're all fighting the same good fight. So I'm not playing against my quarterback who should be with me. I'm not playing against the running back, from Neptune, or the receiver from Tom's River, playing against kids from Colts Neck, Point Borough, Raritan, Long Branch, and schools like that. So, put the helmet on, strap it on, and let the best team win.
All right. Next topic, guys, is the new transfer rule, which is rumored to be going to be passed in May. I don't know if you know anything about it, but let me just tell you what I heard from my buddy up north. He said the NCAA and NJSAA kind of work together, but we're always 2 years behind. We did it with heat acclimation. We did it with the NIL. It's now, and now we're getting hit with not the transfer portal, but new transfer rule that's coming in effect. So what you see in the college level, not saying it would be just like that, but people are going to have the flexibility to kind of do some movement if they move. So what's your take on it? Do you know anything about it, Tommy? Can you read one of those what just came out in the press about the new transfer rule?
Yeah, so it says the state association unveiled a proposal to overhaul its transfer policy. Under this new proposal, athletes would be allowed 1 penalty-free transfer in the first 6 semesters of their high school career, and a proven change of address would no longer be required.
Okay.
I was just going to add, I'm just for, if you live in a certain town, you want to play at that high school. I want Manchester kids to stay at Manchester, and that's my job as the head coach, to build excitement, to build a winning culture, to build, a place to be prideful of academics and athletics. And if I can get Manchester Middle School and the Whiting and Lakehurst kids to stay home, I think I did my job as a head coach. And I know that's really a short answer, and I'm sure other coaches agree. And it could be a slippery slope with the transfer rule. But that's kind of all I'm looking at right now with Manchester.
What happens to that backup quarterback that's backing up a kid knowing that he'll never, ever play again, and he wants to play? We all have some of those parents out there that will do anything for their kid. Do you think it benefits them? Yeah,
I mean, that's a tough situation. It's something we're going to have to figure out. Kind of, you're going to build the plane as you're flying it type of thing, and we're going to see as the new rules come out and the new regulations come out. I just hope that the state and the shore conference, who work hand in hand with each other, really, come up with really strict rules and regulations to take care of it before it becomes a real slippery slope.
John Tierney, from a basketball standpoint, I read St. Rose was waiting for 4 transfers to be okay, and they were the number 1 ranked team at the time. I go, 4 or was it 5? That's a whole starting team. Like, it's crazy the amount of people that even think about transferring. That happens. Does it happen as much in basketball, or I was just reading an article that kind of caught my attention?
Oh, in basketball, it happens 5 times as much as it does in football.
Okay.
It goes. So especially up north, like we're down here in the shore. There's not so much going on, but what's going to wind up happening, especially, and I don't want to get too far off topic, it's a football show, but in basketball, kids are going to go there and they're going to find out there's not enough basketballs. There's only 32 minutes in the game, and I got to get my 12 to 15 shots up. So I think the same is going to happen in football. If teams are trying to build these super teams, well, there's only, the running back's only getting the ball 15 times a game. So if you have 5 running backs, who the kids might say, I can go home and get the ball 15, 20 times a game. So it depends on, what that kid wants.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go, be the 7th man on the bench for a great team and, not show how talented you are, well, then, you're going to go where you're going to go. If you want to come home, as Coach Tommy said before, you want to play for Pinelands, you want to play for, the green and the gold, you want to build this culture here, well, then you're going to stay home and not go where everybody else has gone.
The rule also states, and you're gonna laugh and all that, but you're allowed to recruit now your own 8th graders. And technically, the 8th graders aren't your property until they step into your high school. But now the state's saying you can recruit them now in 8th grade. The other thing is seniors would have to sit 15 days, is what I told with that. But it sounds kind of crazy that if a kid's in your middle school, you now can recruit them. Because I know when I was at Banquet, I wasn't really allowed to do that because technically they're not, high school students. But that's
So
I think it's really the other people are allowed to recruit your 8th graders.
Right. That's the part that's going to bother me. That's going to bother me is that there's going to be other people coming into my town, Manalapan, trying to recruit my middle school kids.
Dom,
I
We'll
hope
go a
middle
step
schools are gonna
further.
allow
So-
those people in.
Dom, if you're an 8th grader,
What?
buckle up because there's going to be a lot of people showing you love right now. These 8th graders,
No doubt.
ridiculous. I actually have 8th graders telling me on the Shore Football Report, when can I announce my announcement where I'm going to go? Like he wanted to make a commitment. I go, I don't do that. I don't do that. And the 8th graders, like they want
Why
that.
do you think I'm running all these camps now for the last 8 weeks in the wintertime? I used to do it in the spring and the summer. Well, now I'm doing it in the winter too because these kids need to know who Dominic Lepore is because you're going to have other people coming into the town of Manalapan
Right.
that already come in now. So now if they open this up, forget it. It'll be floodgate. So,
but Dom, and Coach Dom, I think one of the things that might help us is we were never allowed to do it. So if we got caught doing it, we're the head of the program, right?
yeah.
And those other places their head coach is not coming in to see these kids. It's friends of the program. So there's no consequence for them. At least now we get to grab those guys and be like, you're with us. You're in our family.
No, but I'm saying like the end of the school year, the end of May, the beginning of June, my high school, all the coaches, all the fall coaches will go into the middle
It
school.
might be
right?
too late by then. I mean, in the past it was.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if people are going to try to get into those buildings before that, are they going to
No, I
allow
don't
those
think
other?
they're allowed to. I don't think. Well, you're talking about. That would have to be a guest coming in, and that has to be board approved.
Okay.
If you get a guest coming in, it's a board approved thing. You just can't have somebody on the streets go, "I want to talk to these people."
No, I don't mean that. I mean, yeah, other head coaches of
Well,
different
let's be
programs.
honest, guys. It's not even that. I mean, let's be honest. It's all happening in AYF. I mean, let's call a spade here. I mean, it's all happening in all-star games in AYF, and what's going on down in Florida by the guys that are recruiting for those schools. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, that's where I've lost kids. Schmoozing at the bar down there with the guys who were talking to those kids and getting all these parents on board and let's spend the next 4 years together. I've heard it all. So that's where it's going on. It's not even like spring, fall, whatever. I mean, I've had a relationship with kids that were over my house, like grew up with my kids, and all of a sudden, in the last minute, they're leaving because some other school. I mean, listen, it's the way it works. These kids some of them think that that the recruiting part and all that kind of stuff is great, and they love being schmoozed like that. But listen, the grass isn't always greener, as some of the kids that have left my building have found out.
Yeah.
So to that point, Coach, and getting back to the rule, I think there's pros and cons to it. At Keyport, we have notoriously had to play the defense from parochial schools. Just like, there's that one or two kids in the small town, and they're constantly a target. And I think we've done a good job keeping them. And the rule, I'm kind of liking it because the kids that do leave, it gives them the opportunity to come home without a penalty. But my question, and to Tommy's point before, Coach Farrell's point about regulation, I'm a Group 1 school. Group 1 schools play their freshmen, and their freshmen are winning, Short Football Report Offensive Player of the Week. Freshman, this player. And what's the deal with regulations with parochials then recruiting him? Because I see when my kids, freshman, sophomore, senior, they post a highlight tape, they post a workout, and I see all the parochial schools that are commenting and liking on those photos on Twitter. So what's going to happen with the regulation there? I have a stud freshman that's playing at Keyport or playing at Beach or playing at Keensburg because it's a smaller school. So who's going to stop the parochials from coming in and plucking him out? Who's
Nobody is
stop
allowed
that?
to. Yeah, let's be honest. I
guess-
mean, if we have kids that, left our program and they're playing at other schools and parochials, there's no need for them to come back. They're playing. The thing is, when we have kids that are excelling because then they got to play at a younger age because we just have a void because of that kid that left. When that kid gets older and that kid graduates, why don't you come in and fill those shoes? It's not going to happen the other way around, guys. The only kid that's going to come back is the kid that's not playing, and he doesn't even fall under the having to sit out rule because he's not even playing anyway. So that's why it's only going to work one way, man.
And let's talk about the college transfer rule, right? A kid gets permission from his head coach in the athletic department at a university. He posts the transfer portal admission on his Twitter account. Now the floodgates open. In high school, you're not going to post, or are you? What's the regulation? Are you going to?
What's stopping them, coach?
That's what I'm saying.
What's stopping
that's where, how are you going to regulate? So, Coach Davis, you talk about social media.
Nobody's regulating anything. It's going to be the same thing we're watching on Saturdays, man.
That's kind of the scary part from a social media standpoint is how are you going to regulate a school talking to an 8th grader that's not in your district, or a transfer who's thinking about coming who hasn't used his transfer yet? That's the scary part to me. Is how
hasn't used his transfer yet.
Yeah,
right.
We went down to play a parochial school at their place, and during the pregame, we're out there and we look over on their sideline, and there's a whole row of Matawan AYF, that AYF team on their sideline. And I turned to my coaches, I said, "You believe this? Right? All these kids, and all of a sudden they turn around, they disappeared. Well, where did all those kids go? They go on a little tour of the school. I mean, come on. I mean, what are we doing? They have the little sideline passes and stuff like that. I mean, it's like being in college."
I got the answer, Len. Put it in the curriculum. Your middle school teaches brick football, has a class. All your coaches are in it. Don't let them out to go to the bathroom. They have to. The phones stay in the front. Nobody can talk to anybody the whole time. And at least for those hours, they're thinking brick football. That's all you can do. These kids, man, they communicate to people they don't even know. It's scary. I have a 16-year-old daughter that, with Twitter and people it's just a scary world, guys, that we're getting into. It's not. It's
Listen, we had to deal with it a couple of years ago. I had a kid in the building that decided to leave. And, again, I'm sorry, we got some tough kids on our team, man. So this kid posted something about leaving, and guess what? My seniors went up to him and said, "You're not coming back next year. You're not welcome. So you better get out of here." And that's the way I love about it, where it's like, you know what, you don't want to be part of us, then you're against us, get out of here. So they told him, don't let the door hit you in the ass. And, I don't mind that either. If you don't want to be here, you want to second guess it, listen, I'm sorry, man, just get out. I don't want that kid anyway.
No doubt.
Scary times ahead of, athletics with this new transfer rule, because we're seeing it on the college level. We don't know what to expect, but what I'm told, it's coming in May. And, and I think
I couldn't imagine dealing with, as a college coach, could you imagine dealing with this? Could you imagine having to recruit every kid on your team, every kid out there you're recruiting every minute of the day?
Len,
then having to worry about paying somebody more money if they're getting money. You got to be kidding me.
Len, I talked to a Power 5 coach told me that the head coach has, if the pulse is down with a certain kid, they have to counsel him to see if he's going to go on the portal. And they have to write it down and all that. Plus, they hired more coaches to check the transfer portals. It's crazy.
So
that's what you're doing.
So I heard something about the college transfer portal. The coach says, "I'm not just recruiting this kid for 2023. I'm recruiting him for 24, 25, or 26. So if I don't get him the first time around, he likes me the second time around."
How about colleges now have a high school recruiting coordinator and a transfer portal recruiting coordinator on all levels of divisions? There's a Division III program that one of my kids is looking at that has a transfer portal recruiting coordinator and a high school one. And that's Division III.
Like you said, I had one of the coaches come in from one of the state schools, talk to our kids, basically tell them, "Sorry, guys. I look at your tape, and I'm looking at everything, and we'll evaluate. But right now, we're not even taking any freshmen this year because we have 16 kids coming in the transfer portal. All it is just it's hurting opportunities for some kids. And listen, I understand the way this whole thing works, and the way it happens up top, and it's all trickled down from the big time colleges. but have no rules, and it's no thanks, man. It's just going to wind up hurting all the other sports and colleges too, because, well, I mean, what happens? Why do these kids get now they're signing a deal to get paid there, but then they can sit out games if they don't want to play? Like,
you wonder why Bill O'Brien just went to the Patriots and left Alabama.
Yeah.
I got another one for you, Len. What happens with these transfer rules that some schools can provide NIL deals for kids?
Oh, yeah, of course.
And all an NIL deal is, maybe some business guy says, hey, we can do this for you because we want to see your program do well. Thank God Matter Day's not around, because if Matter Day was here, they would be giving out some NILs all over the place. Again, right? So
we're a little late, Coach Tierney. We're a little late on that.
I think they still owe me some cash.
All right, guys, the last topic that I had my IG followers, they asked me to have you guys talk about, was reclassifying. The good, the bad, and the ugly. What are the purposes? First, let me just say this. Holding back a kid has its purposes, academically, socially. But when you're doing it for the purpose of a scholarship 4 years from now, I'm going to have to say the percentages are you're going to be disappointed. You're still going to go to Kane College or King's College. I don't think that it's going to elevate your recruiting when you're reclassified. On the other part, too, is college coaches, when they talk to me, don't want a guy who's 19 years old opposed to an 18 or 17-year-old because he maxed out, shaven and all that. He's too mature. The other guy has more potential. So you might beat the crap out of a guy with these divisions, being a 19-year-old playing a 16-year-old. But when it gets to the college level, you kind of maxed out. That's just me saying that. But that's the thing that goes on. I'll never tell a parent what to do with their kid if they want them to get reclassified for whatever reason. But if it's for scholarships and all that, I don't hear more positives coming out of it. And I think it just prolongs, their careers after football, because nobody's going to play football forever. What's your take on reclassing, guys?
If a kid is good enough to get a scholarship when he's 18,
yep,
or when he's 19, he's good enough to get a scholarship when he's 18. In the end, if a kid can play, he can play. And if he can play, the coaches will find him. Is there an advantage physically, emotionally, mentally? Sure. And parents are more than entitled to make the decisions they think is best for their children. But if the decision is being made and generated on an idea of, oh, if he's a year older, he's going to get that scholarship as opposed to when he's not, I'll just go back to the first thing I said in our little talk here. College recruiting is incredibly competitive, and there aren't a lot of opportunities for even the good and college-ready guys now. So, if you're good enough to play, you'll get that look. You'll get that opportunity. That's my kind of position on that.
I look at it saying, if you look at the way the kids are, basically, if a kid reclasses like that, he's basically going to have most likely an extra year of varsity football. No matter what you look at, he has an extra year. Whether he starts earlier, he's going to probably start a year earlier. Most likely that kid, because he's playing, in a grade lower than where he should be. So that kid's going to play extra. So that means more time on the field, more games, more plays, more exposure. So there's a reason why people do it. Yeah.
No, you're right.
I mean, from my standpoint, my point of view, I don't see the advantage of it. It's really taken off like the last 5 to 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not seen any kids, come through our program that have benefited, going to that big time Division I school. Anthony Ferkser, Saeed Blacknall, all those big time players that have come through our school started as 14-year-old freshmen. I mean, Saeed, probably one of the best kids to ever come through our program, played freshman football, through senior year, got a scholarship, obviously went to Penn State, had a little career in the NFL there. Same thing with Anthony Ferkser, was a football player after his sophomore year, was a basketball player, went to Harvard, now playing in the league. So, I mean, I don't see the advantage of it. We've had guys that have left our school that have gone on to like these prep schools, like the Hund. I mean, those kids would have stayed in Manalapan. They would have got the same offers or same, opportunities if they would have stayed. So I don't see the difference. I don't see the opportunity, to play into their benefit.
I think even if you're using it for learning purposes or emotional purposes, I'm okay with it. Obviously it's a family choice. You're going to get the extra year somewhere along the line. I mean, then you're talking about if you go red shirts, now you actually have 2 extra years by the time you graduate college. But again, I think it's a personal choice. And if most of the time you can't go public to public, you have to go either public to Catholic or public to homeschool. Mm-hmm. And if you're willing to do that for an athletic advantage, I don't necessarily see it. If you're doing that for other advantages, possibly yes. I would.
I agree with Coach Tierney. I'm not a parent, so I can't say I've been there before or I've seen the benefits or the negatives of it. But I see, why people want to maybe PG after their senior year of high school, going to a Hun or a Petty. If they maybe not are getting the athletic advantages that they want, there's maybe an opportunity for them. But in 8th grade, like Coach Tierney said, if it's because of a social, emotional, or learning reason, I'm all for it. But if there's an athletic reason, like the coaches said before, you're either going to play your freshman year or sophomore year, and that's when colleges are starting to look at you. I don't agree with that reason of it, but like I said, I'm all for reclassing, quote unquote, if you're going to do a PG year. But if you're reclassing for 8th grade, like Coach Tierney said, you're probably going to go to a private school or a homeschool environment, unless you're performing, not under the proficient mark for an academic purpose. Then that's a different conversation. And I like Coach Tierney said, that's a family conversation you have to have. But for an athletic advantage to reclassify, I see it the other way. I had a couple seniors who were 16. Who I wish reclassified, but that also goes to the district, right? When are we enrolling in kindergarten? When are we starting that track? And that could be a whole nother conversation. But again, in kindergarten and 1st grade, when you're enrolling in public school, you don't know the athletic advantages by any means at that young of an age. So it's just a slippery slope. And if there's regulation on it, I think that can also be a slippery slope. But that's really my take on it.
When parents project their kids' athletic performances in the future, that scares me because it never pans out. It never pans out what a parent thinks 4 years, what they think their kid is like, especially 8th grade, from a football standpoint. Go ahead, John.
I know someone had asked before, I don't know if we were on or not, but about like other states. I know Pennsylvania, you can actually play varsity sports as an 8th grader.
Yeah, New York was like that, I think, right, Dom?
So
yeah.
And the issue then becomes if a kid then, his family moves and they come to New Jersey, he's then ineligible his senior year, or at least he's ineligible for the number of games he played.
Is that true?
As an 8th grader, yes.
Yeah.
So if you played 17 games as an 8th grader, some point during your varsity career in New Jersey, you're going to miss 17 games.
I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, you can also look at kids when, like, as far as maturity level. I mean, we've all had a kid that has, like, blossomed, like, later in life, So if a kid is, if he's graduating high school 17, 18 years old, and, all of a sudden they get a growth spurt or something, because I've seen some kids do that, right in high school, the last year. I mean, if you have an extra year and you get kids can get a growth spurt, it could all change. I mean, also the way everything is going with the college recruiting for the kids. They're not recruiting as many kids out of high school, because all the kids are getting in a transfer portal. So now if kids are a year older coming out of high school, it probably will benefit them, because they're going to be, maybe on par with some of those kids that are freshmen transferring in from a different school, so you never know. I just look at it and say it's all going to be different for all kids. I mean, like Dom said, I moved down here to Brick when I was in 2nd grade. I was coming from Staten Island and we started earlier. In school there in New York. And I moved down here and I was behind everybody. And my mother put me back. Said, I put him back a grade because he's not handling everything well. And it's because I was a year younger than everybody. So there's reasons why certain parents do it. And, I think my parent did it for me. And at the time, I had no idea what was going on. I was just sitting there probably drooling and playing with Matchbox cars. But for me, I think it was I'm glad they did it because, the bond I have with the kids that I play with and all being the same age. And let's be honest, I drove when I was in the beginning of my junior year and not, a couple of months into my senior year. So that was also beneficial too. My wife who went to, Toms River South, moved from Massachusetts. and she was a year younger in the same grade. She didn't drive till December of her senior year. So, I mean, look at the benefits of that for some kids. You know, I mean, when they get in their car and they can drive to their parochial schools a year earlier. You know?
I think, Tommy, you had said something about the school's track. There's actually a school, I don't want to say, you know, whatever, they don't do it anymore, but there was a kindergarten and there was a T1 program, and then first grade. So a lot of the boys, because boys mature a lot later on in life, you know, I think 65 or 70.
I'm on that track.
They would go from kindergarten to T1, so now they're on pace to graduate at 19 years old, and that always benefited their sports programs. Oh, it was a public school, always benefited it.
Yeah,
Guys, you've been great. This is awesome. I appreciate it. Spending some time talking football and answering questions that my IG followers wanted you guys to answer. And you did a great job with the division talks, your off-season workouts, which I particularly really like. That was my thing. The transfer rule and what we just talked about right now with reclassifying. Like, I had many people ask me, like, oh my God, I hope they're not listening to me and doing it or not doing it, depending on how we talk about it. But I don't have the answers. I know you guys, you know, don't have the answers. We're just talking about our experiences, and that's all it is with that. So, guys, wishing you guys the very best in the off season, and you know, have an exciting 2023 football season. Tune in later. Scott Stump and myself is going to break down all the divisions, including yours. And we're going to let you know who you got. It's not who you're missing. It's who you got coming back. And there's a lot of good football players coming back in the Shore Conference. So I'm signing off, wishing you guys the best, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
all right, thank you, man.
Thank you.
Later.
All right, good. Thank you.
Have a month in the